E aí, galera, tudo bem com vocês? Sejam muito bem-vindos ao canal Repeat After Me Idiomas. Hoje, uma sessão de entrevistas especiais e temos uma convidada especial, Kajsa. Ela é uma jornalista, ativista feminista sueca e hoje nós vamos bater um papo sobre alguns temas bem legais. Espero que vocês gostem. Bora pro vídeo. Kajsa, thank you so much for accepting this invitation to take part in this interview with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to talk to you.
All right. Thank you so much. So basically for the audience, can you introduce a little bit about yourself, explain your background, what do you do for a living today?
So I'm an author and a journalist. I've been working with this for about 20 years. I've written 4 books. They're about capitalism, the Euro crisis as it was played out in Greece, the economic consequences for Greece. Also, I've written about women's rights, trafficking, prostitution, surrogacy, about Latin American politics. And my last book is on the meaning of sex, thoughts on the new definition of woman, which is about why all of a sudden a new definition of woman has taken hold, where we're taught that woman is no longer a biological and material fact, but it's something that's in your head, basically.
Okay.
So, and I've been writing for different kinds of media in my country and elsewhere. I also lecture internationally, a lot here in Spain, where I'm now, about especially prostitution and surrogacy.
Okay, that's great.
So
And
that's briefly.
yeah, no, that's really interesting. Your profile, what you do. I think it's really important nowadays. Let me ask one question, Kajsa. Since you're a writer, right? Where does that inspiration come from? When did you decide to be an author and write about these things, about these subjects? Why did you decide to create this?
I mean, to be a writer is like 2 things. First, it is the actual writing in itself. You basically have to love to write. The second thing is the subjects. I mean, for me, the writing became before the subjects. So I started writing when I was about 5, and ever since then, I've always wanted to be an author. I've always written stuff, short stories, poems, letters. When I was small, I had like pen pals all over the place, and I wrote letters to them. I wrote diary. Whenever people were together in my house, like I started taking notes on what they were saying, just writing down what they were saying, like everything as fast as I could. So I think the love of writing is one thing that you need to have if you're going to be working on this. And then, of course, you find along the way a passion also for the topics that you write about.
Okay, that's really interesting. And you have any tips for people out there that's trying to be an author right now? Any tips to succeed in this area, which is, I mean, there are a lot of people that does the same thing, right? Write books with the same subjects. What do you think is the most important thing to succeed in this area?
You mean like basically how to be a writer?
Yes, basically.
Well, you have to work hard. Like you have to write all the time. That's what you have to do. Like you have to read and write every day, all the time. Like you can't just all of a sudden wake up one day and be a writer if you haven't read or you haven't written. Like it simply won't be good. Because in order to be original, you have to work through imitation. So you start by imitating other writers and then you find your own voice. A lot of people think like you're just going to wake up one day and have your own voice, but it doesn't work like that. Like a person who's not used to it is never going to be able to write in their own voice. So that comes like at the end. So you have to work and work and work hard until you have that voice, until you know how to use the language in your own way. And I think it's the same thing like if you learn a new language. Like when I learned, Spanish or when I learned Greek or other languages, it's like first you just imitate people, right? You just say what they say. It's in the end that you can make your own phrases, right? You can make your own like sentences in that new language. So writing is a bit like that too, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, of course, of course. Speaking of that, how many languages can you speak?
Like I would say like 5.5 or something like that.
It's awesome. And you have any techniques that help you to learn languages that you could share with our audience?
I mean, it's like theory and practice, right? So you first have to like obviously read the grammar so you understand like in a simple way how to form words, like how to make plural, how to make past tense, all that. You just read it and then it makes it easier. But the most important thing is you have to speak to people. So you basically have to like imitate people, speak to people in that language, not be shy and just speak and speak and speak. Listen to music as well, like it helps. Read novels in that language.
That's really nice. Thanks
Yeah.
so much for sharing. It's very interesting because, as I always say for my students, right? We need to be motivated. We need to link things that we like, things that we love, with what we are learning right now, right? I'm also writing a book which is coming out soon on next Monday. It's 20 secrets to learn any language in the world. So if you focus, so I give 20 techniques and secrets to people so they can learn languages easily, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like about always studying and studying, but you have to have, fun. You gotta have fun to be able to learn faster, right? Kajsa, right now I want to touch a very delicate subject, right? Which is surrogacy. I
Yeah.
want to know, in your opinion, what are the consequences of surrogacy for the women?
Well,
What do you think about
surrogacy, what
that?
it is, surrogacy basically is an industry where people are buying children from women. So
Okay.
surrogacy is an industry where women are becoming pregnant with the sole purpose of giving up that child to somebody else for money. So what I see it as, it's a new form of baby trade. Basically people are buying babies, even though sometimes, their eggs might be their own, or the genetic material might be their own. They're still paying for somebody to be pregnant and deliver the baby. So to me, that's exploitation of women, and it's also something that goes against the rights of the child, because the child has the right to get to know his mother, and in this case he's not getting to know his mother, like he never gets to see her. And that connection that's formed between the mother and the child in the womb, you know that's completely denied in that industry, because she's just giving that child up, and it's really hard
And
for
for
women to
money,
do that.
right?
Of
And
course it's for
most,
money, like they're using poor women for this. And these women, just because they're poor, it doesn't mean they don't have feelings. So when they have a child for 9 months, they feel something for that
yeah,
child, and then just to give
create
it
a
away,
connection,
it can
right?
sometimes be really hard, right? So I think it's awful that this is going on in the world, just because like rich people, they want babies, and nobody's thinking that they're taking somebody else's baby. Like all these famous people are doing it, like Kim Kardashian, all these
You know,
Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Like, oh,
you you
sorry,
you you,
somebody's
you have
beeping.
it's
So
okay. You have more experience than I am in this area since you're a writer. You have long years of talking about this subject. I saw a couple of interviews that you did, podcasts, and to get to learn a little bit about yourself and your books. I have a question for you. Do you think is it possible, for example, to do like this kind of surrogacy, but for love, not for money? I'll give an example. Let's say that, for example, I have a sister, and my sister cannot be pregnant. She has a problem, and she's going through a treatment, but she cannot have a baby. And my other sister offers her to be, the mother, just to give her birth for the baby, in general. Do you think does it work, or is still for you it's a trade? It's not legal. It's not good to do that. What do you think about these cases? Because I know most of
well,
the times people do that for money, but we have just to hear the both sides of the story. Sometimes maybe there is someone that
well,
you know.
I mean, I would say like in every discussion about surrogacy, this topic comes up, and I think it's a bit of like a fake discussion, because it's such few cases. Like this is not really happening anywhere. Like
Mhm.
everybody's heard the story, but how often does it really happen? Most people don't want their sister to carry their baby, because they don't want the surrogate to be involved.
Mhm.
What they want is they want to pay the money, and they want the mother to like disappear.
Yeah.
So if their sister is the mother, she's going to be around, she might see the baby. So a lot of them, they don't want that. So I think it's a bit of like a fake discussion to have, because it's like everybody will be talking about something that barely doesn't happen. We're not
Okay.
talking about this. We're talking about a huge industry. Having said that, I also think there are problems. Just because it's a sister, it doesn't mean that she doesn't feel sad when she's giving up the baby. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean that the baby shouldn't have rights to her. And a pregnancy is a very risky thing. To be
It
pregnant,
is.
you can die.
It
You can
is.
be infertile. You can become infertile from being pregnant. You can get all these problems from giving birth. it hurts like hell to give birth, you know. So I don't think that's something that you can just take lightly, you know, like, oh, you just do it for a friend, you know. We're not talking about like, you know, helping you
It's
to
not that
move or
simple, right?
something.
It's not like
It's not
this.
that simple. It's about the creation of life, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we have to be like a bit humble when it comes to these things and not just say like, oh, but that's okay, you know, because really these are hard things. I think, you know, there should be only one reason why a woman should carry a baby, and that's because she actually wants to have a baby. And if she doesn't want a baby, then she shouldn't carry it, you know.
I got you perfectly. Another subject that I would like to talk about is about prostitution, right? In your opinion, what is the main causes of prostitution in the world right now, nowadays?
Well, the main causes is that men pay for sex,
Mhm.
and women don't really do that, you know. Very few women do that. I think most women want to be with a person who wants to be with them, but some men, you know, they don't care. They just like pay and they think that's okay. Like they don't care what the woman feels. So if she doesn't enjoy it, if she's not like interested in him, if she's not attracted to him, she's only doing it for the money, like she
Mhm.
doesn't really want to be there, they don't care, right?
Of course.
So
Yeah, yeah, no, totally, most definitely. Another thing that I would like to ask you, for example, if you could do something to help raise awareness against this thing like prostitution in the world, what would you do if you had the power to do something bigger to help women against these things? You have anything in mind?
well, you know, it depends on if you mean like in the personal sense or in the legal sense, you know, because I
Let's say
mean these
both.
are like, yeah, because like in the personal sense, you know, I think we have to raise awareness that like, you know, sexuality should always be mutual.
Okay.
So like men should learn that if a woman is charging for this, it
Mhm.
means that she doesn't really like him, she doesn't really want to be with him, and you know it won't like be real, it won't be authentic, like. So I think men should learn that that's just wrong, because it goes with all these other like abuse type of things like rape and, you know, harassment, that like men don't really, some men don't really understand, like if the woman says no, like that's just no. But then I think like on the legal like um level, like what you have to do is like outlaw both, you know, pimping and human trafficking, and the purchase of sex all over the place, so that people really understand that this is not just like a product like any other product. It's not a job. It's like exploitation. And you know, if you are paying for sex, you are contributing to human trafficking. Like you are fueling that industry, because without you, that industry wouldn't exist. So you can't say you're innocent. Like if you're paying for it, you're part of the problem. You know, because a lot of people, they just look at like, you know, the human traffickers, like those are awful people, but the buyers, they're just normal guys, right?
Of
Well, how
course.
can that be? Because the human traffickers exist because these normal guys are paying for sex, right? So you know that can't be. Like I don't think it's gonna ever disappear like completely, not in this world anyway, but I think it could be a lot less than what it is now. It doesn't have to be as big as it is, and it doesn't have to be as like just, you know, normalized as it is now.
Guys, let me ask you, what do you think, what are your thoughts about adoption? It's a different thing, right? But what do you think about that?
Well, that's problematic too, actually, because you know, now it sounds like I'm against everything, but you know,
No, no,
what
no.
people think about adoption is like you're just like adopting an orphan child, right?
Hi.
Somebody who doesn't have parents. But then you look at reality, and a lot of this is kidnapping. It is human trafficking as well. They're taking babies from parents at the hospitals. They're kidnapping babies on the street. They're like fooling mothers that they're just going to like leave the child, you know, for one day and then the child is gone. I mean, there is a lot of things going on in that industry. You know, there's a lot of scandals. So my country is like complicit in this. You know, in Sweden where I live, like they have been stealing a lot of babies from countries like Chile, Colombia, Korea. So we have to understand that, like, you know, there aren't just hundreds of thousands of kids who have no parents, no aunts, no uncles, no brothers, no sisters. That doesn't exist. Like, a kid has a family somewhere, right? So the best thing, of course, is for the child to stay somewhere in the family.
Sure. Kajsa, also, right now, 2022, things should be different, but I still think that some kind of there is like a gender inequality in the world. I want to ask you, since I'm not sure, but I believe you travel a lot. You have been to a couple of countries. What do you think about this topic? Is that it still exists in your opinion or no? It's just people just talk about this, but it was like years ago. What do you think about gender inequality?
Gender equality.
Yeah.
Like, you mean between men and women?
Yes.
Like, are you asking, like, does that exist in the world?
Yes, in your opinion, if you see that in like in Sweden, you're in Sweden right now, right? You live in
Yeah,
Sweden.
no. That doesn't exist. Like, I know other countries think that.
Uh-huh.
Like, other countries think that, like, oh, in Sweden, like, you have gender equality. Like, I don't think we have that at all.
But
Like,
what
women
about
are abused
worldwide, like in the countries that
Yeah,
you've been?
no, I haven't seen any country where there's like full equality. Like, I haven't seen any country where, a woman is treated exactly the same way as a man,
Mhm.
and
For
where
good or
women
for
own as much as
in your
men.
opinion, for good or for bad? Like you said that women are not treated like men, but for bad or for good?
Yeah,
in
no,
your-
I don't mean that, oh, they're exactly the same, because
Uh-huh.
obviously we're not. We have different bodies. Like, women give birth,
Okay.
I mean, of course, you can't treat them exactly the same. Like, you don't see it, that's not what I mean.
Uh-huh.
But what I mean is, like, economically speaking, for example, like, men own most of the businesses, for example. And also, like, women, for example, I think in most countries in the world are abused in the home. I mean, you don't see that the other way around. Like, you don't see men being like beaten up and like killed by their wives, like, at least not that often,
Mhm.
But in most countries in the world, you see like violence against women, and it's rarely punished. Like, a lot of the time, they don't report. So a man can go on abusing his wife for like 30 years. Nobody will find out. Then he kills her, and everybody says, oh, we thought it was like a loving relationship. And then you find out that it's been going on for ages. Nobody's seen it. Like, nobody said anything.
Yeah. Yeah. What
See what
about
I mean? So yeah, like, I could go on. There's so many examples. Yeah.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, what about, for example, gender inequality, job-wise in the work environment, like
Yeah.
salaries? Does it still happen, right, in Europe or?
Yeah, everywhere. But I think, look, if you look at women and men worldwide, like, women in all the world are
Mhm,
doing like the reproductive work. And
mhm,
that means giving birth, taking care of small children,
mhm,
taking care of old people, cooking, cleaning, teaching children how to walk, changing diapers, teaching them how to read,
mhm.
teaching them, how to behave, like, turning like nature into culture, basically.
Sure.
So that women give birth to a being that, like, basically doesn't have a culture, and women are giving that child a culture because they're bringing that child up. They're giving that child manners. Like, that's the kind of basic work. They cook, they clean, they make sure the house is nice. When a person's sick or old, they take care of them. Like, that's the women's work all over the world. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Like, even if you're in Sweden, like, women are doing that work. The difference is, in some countries, that's paid work. Like, women get paid to do it. They get paid as nurses. They get paid as, professionals working with small children in kindergarten, for example,
Mhm, mhm.
and these things. And in some countries, women are just doing it for free.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in all countries, women are doing that. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's how it is. And then, of course, you have like a percentage of women that's getting in more to like the male markets and doing male jobs, but it doesn't change the fact that, like, the basic reproductive work is done by women all over the place.
But in this case, you think that things are worse right now in the meaning of, for example, right now we can see on LinkedIn, for example, there are so many women like managers, CEO in companies. They take charge like good positions. Do you think these things are better now for women,
No, I
job-wise,
think it's
or
great. I
it's the
think it's
same?
great. No, I think it's great. Of course, it's better now. Of course, it's better
Mhm.
that women have chances, that, the workplace is more equal.
They
But,
didn't have in the past, right?
yeah, in the past that wasn't so common. So, of course, it's better now. But, it won't change the fact that somebody still has to cook, somebody still has to clean,
Of
somebody still
course.
has to take care of children. That's the basic
Mhm.
work. So, how are you going to pay that work? How are you going to reward that work? I mean, that is the big question. You see what I mean? Because, all women can't become CEOs. All men can't become CEOs either. Most men are working class. Like most women are working class. Most people are. So,
Mhm.
that's the big question, I think.
Kajsa,
Yeah.
since no, yeah, thanks so much for answering that. And another thing that's actually what I'm gonna ask right now. It's one question that I have because I've asked that for lots of women, and each one answers differently, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I want to know, since you have a lot of experience in this with conferences and lectures and everything, what is the definition of feminism? What is that? Because some people say that it's for gender equality, that men and women should have the same rights. But sometimes when I ask some people here in Brazil, for example, or some other countries too, because I have friends from all over, I ask them and they say no, because women should be better than men because of this, because of that. And that makes me think that women should be better and men should be like inferior, or it's because it's different definitions that people give to this
Yeah, yeah,
word.
yeah.
I'd like to hear for like someone that can help me with that. Could you explain, please, for us?
Yeah, I mean, what it is, I think your first answer would be the one that would be shared by most women in the world, like equality between men and women.
Okay.
Now, how you interpret that equality is the different thing.
Mhm.
Because some people would say that means you would see no difference between the sexes, right? You would treat
Mhm.
them exactly the same. Now, I don't think you can reach equality like that. Because if you see, for example, the labor of being pregnant and giving birth,
Mhm.
exactly the same thing as becoming a father. It's not the same thing.
Uh-huh.
It's not, because becoming a father, it takes a couple of seconds. Becoming a mother takes 9 months. You know, you can never see from a man's body if he's a father or not, but you can see from a woman's body if she's a mother. So if you don't understand these basic things, you can't achieve equality, because then you get to these absurd notions that, oh, both are the same. No, they're not the same. So you have to first take into account um, what makes women and men different. Then I think, you could also say that what feminism means is like the liberation of women from all these things that are put upon us, from all these things that hinder our lives every day, from all these things that push us down, you know, just the ability to have, authentic human relationships to other people that are not full of traps and difficulties coming from the fact that men often have like a hypocritical standard of women. They think that women are not somehow human, and they all expect women to be a certain way, but then if they are that way, then that's also bad. And there's like no way for us to be that's totally accepted. You know what I mean? Like a man can be appreciated as fully human, and I think most women want that too. And also just practical things like being able to live your life and to have, to be able to have a salary that you can, live off of, to be able to have your children, but also have help with your children, not to do everything alone, to have a man that's not beating you up every day, to have a man that's not putting you down, not to be put down by your parents, not to be told every day like your destiny is to get married
What you
at a
should do
certain
or should
age.
not, right?
Yeah. So man, yeah, there's a million things. It depends on what country you're living in as well.
Totally, totally. Right now, a funny question. I'm gonna explain later, but what do you think about on the first date? Who should pay the bill, the woman or the man?
Ha 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 ha. Okay, that depends on the mindset, right?
What do you mean?
and on what they earn, right? Like I don't think that's like, you know, like a super big question. You know, I don't think it's like, oh, if the man pays the bill, oh, awful, it's not equality. No, it's not so bad. He can do it. Maybe he earns more money than her. Maybe he has more income. Maybe he feels that that's a way of showing that, you know, he really cares about her or something. I don't have a super problem with that. But then, of course, you know, in some
But
countries
like
you have like,
on the first date, like for example, I'll give you an example. Like you invite someone, you invite a man for the first time to have lunch, for example.
yeah,
Since you invited, do you think he should pay or you should pay? Or you can
yeah,
split?
I see
What do you
what you
think
mean.
about
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I think you're right. I think it kind of goes with that. Like, yeah, the person who invites,
Okay,
I think either that person should pay or maybe they should share it.
okay.
Could be. I mean, because the interesting thing is, like, if you invite a friend for lunch, often, you know,
Okay.
you're sharing it, right? Or you
Yes,
invite that
yes.
person, then next time the other person pays for you, right?
Sure, sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it depends. It's also like when you get into these like romantic things,
Okay.
romance also has like a kind of game of its own.
Sure.
So I don't know how much you can relate that to like all these political questions, because between two people, maybe something is happening that has a certain dynamic, right?
Sure, sure. Yeah. No, totally. Thank you so much,
And it's
Kajsa.
funny because I'll tell you something. In my life,
Sure.
I've had a couple of partners who've been like really out of money. Like they haven't had a lot of money at all.
Okay.
And some of them, they've been really proud, right? So they've told me like, is it okay if like you pay for this, but you give me the money before? So like the waiter won't know that you're paying. You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, of course. Really?
Yeah, because like they
They don't
can't pay.
feel bad, right?
Yeah, like they can't pay, but they feel so bad if somebody sees that. So
Yeah.
they want me to like give them the money before so it looks like they're paying.
Totally, totally. Yeah. It's kind of funny that question because it's a topic that came up the other day here, and that's why I asked you this. And it's just that some people think that men always should pay, and some other think that no, we should split. I can pay the first time, or in second date you can pay, and we can do like this. It doesn't matter if you're rich or not. I think we should just, if we are together, we should just split
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just be like friends, you know.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
important thing. But that's why I asked this question.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of also shows where you want to go with this, you know.
Empathy as well, right? To
Yeah,
be
I
empathic.
mean, yeah, there is a lot of different ways to deal with it, and all of them will show something about your intentions, your personality, your culture, and your upbringing, you know. Because you have to keep in mind there's so many cultures in the world, and in some cultures, you know, it's normal that you split everything, like everything you count it like to the last time. And in some cultures, it's like the man must pay. Like he would feel so bad if he didn't do that, you know.
Of course,
So
of
that's
course.
like,
Guys, that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're on
thank
vacation right
you.
now. I didn't mean to bother you, but it was really necessary, this interview for us. It's really important. Last but not least, I would like to ask you if you have any plans coming up soon, any books, anything you want to share with people.
Like good books.
If you have any books coming out soon or any plans for the
Oh, like my
future,
own books.
anything on your own, yeah, something like a project you want to share with us.
Um, could I recommend something by somebody else?
Of course, sure, you can.
Yeah, I don't have to be recommending my own stuff all the time. Um, let me think. Yeah, you know what? Last thing I read was really interesting actually. It's a book by a Spanish journalist
Okay.
called Pascual Serrano, and it's about like what happened after the war in Ukraine, like how the world is so focused on that war while there are so many other wars going on, and like why is that war getting so much attention, and how the media is so biased about it, like how they're reporting in a way that they don't usually report about other wars. So this is really interesting, and it's called like prohibido dudar. Como yo creo que se llama algo como la guerra en Ucrania cambió el mundo en 10 días o algo así. It's called something like that. It's in Spanish, so it's really cool. I'm just reading it right now.
I'll Google it, and I'm gonna put on the description right now. And all your books, I'm gonna put on the description as well, because
Okay,
it's a
I'll send
very
the link
interesting.
to you so you can see it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
thank you so much. Take care
Thank
of
you,
yourself.
Kajsa. You take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Então, pessoal, foi isso por hoje. Espero que vocês tenham gostado, aprendido bastante vocabulário. Coloca aqui no comentário se vocês têm alguma pergunta para fazer para ela, ou se vocês querem algum outro tópico diferente no próximo vídeo, tá bom? Um abraço e até a próxima. See you next time.